Welcome back to the 1090 podcast. Today we have Christian Sandoval on, who is owner-operator of TAT. What is it again, Christian?
Total athlete training.
Total athlete training. We'll talk more about that in the episode. But in our intro today, just want to throw out some Army statistics for you guys, since Christian served in the Army, and we want to thank him for that. And let me just throw some numbers out at you. The Army, which is the oldest branch of the U.S. military, is also the service branch with the most personnel. In 2021, there were 482,000 active members in the U.S. Army. California is home to the most active duty members within the U.S., with 157,000 stationed personnel. Ooh, how about this? Who has the most powerful military in the world? You guys ready for this? According to Global Firepower, a prominent data website specializing in defense-related information, the United States possesses the most powerful military force worldwide. What do you guys think? Who's second and third? And fourth will blow you away. No pun intended, talking about the Army. But what do you guys think? Second, third, fourth most powerful.
I'm thinking maybe like China, number 2.
Yeah, so we have Russia, number 2, and then China. Yeah. Number 4 is India.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does?
Dense population.
I did not see that coming.
That population is like 4
that's
billion,
true.
5 billion, something like that.
There you go. Let's see. Anything else here? What percentage of Americans go to the Army?
I'm going with about a
0.04%.
Isn't that crazy?
We're all about, like, 4th of July, we're waving the flags. No one really.
Bro,
like,
that's what I'm telling you.
We aren't about it, though. We're posers. Like, we wouldn't actually join.
Like we said earlier, Yeah, but everyone wants to.
But yeah, it should be a good one with Christian. Thanks for coming on, man. Life 10% what happens to you, and 90% what you're going to do about it.
All right, welcome back to the 1090 podcast. I'm Sam Josie here with Mason Sawyer, co-hosts, and we got a fun episode today. I'm excited.
Dude, let's not piss Christian off, because he will kick all 3 of our asses. He is.
Christian's looking good. Yeah, he's looking good.
What? This guy walks in. I'm like, oh, hello, sir. How are you?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, Chris, thanks for being on today. We're excited.
Yeah,
We're excited. This will be fun.
Yeah. Christian, so you did the military thing. You love stoicism.
Oh, absolutely.
So I want to talk about that. And then we'll get to the TAT training that you do, because not only do you train really good athletes, but I think, like, middle school, high school kids, they need sports. They need a good coach. It's so important. So I want to talk about that too. But how about right out of the gate? Should we go to the Stoic quotes? Should we go?
Yeah, sure.
Top 3 Stoic quotes.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to give you mine real quick, and then I'll let you take over.
Sounds
you
good.
can break them down for us.
Yeah.
Dave, you have any good Stoic quotes you like?
I got a few from Mike Lupica.
Oh man, he's going deep.
I don't have any.
Yeah, that was a joke. I knew you wouldn't, but that's fine. So one Stoic quote that I really like, I think it's Marcus Aurelius, but it's when death smiles upon you, all a man can do is smile back. And that was like a big thing in my life, because for so long I just laid in my bed, poor me, why me, this sucks, life's unfair. And then eventually it was like, all right, this is enough. I'm going to smile back at this thing, go down swinging at least. So I love that quote. And then I absolutely love the other Marcus Aurelius quote. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Like, the obstacle is the way. And I've experienced that in my life. Like, this car accident that crippled me, as painful as it is and as bad as it hurts to visit it and talk about it and think about them, that's where the healing takes place. It is. Like, you have to go to the place where it hurts the most if you want to get healing and move with it. So I love the quote, the obstacle is the way. And then they have a bunch of quotes. I think this is Seneca, but they always talk about focusing on what you can control. And Seneca has a really cool quote that talks about, I'm not gonna say it good enough, but I have it right here. Let me pull it up real quick. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And Christian, that's one thing I've learned is like, okay, and it's scary because when you shift your perspective of okay, what's actually in my control. One of the scary things is there's not a whole lot in my control. Like at least initially, like this is kind of not good. But then you focus, like it's weird though because when you do start focusing on what you actually can control, then your perspective shifts, and you start to see other things that are also within your control, and it actually kind of grows, type of thing. But those are three. I love. There's a bunch of Stoic quotes. So,
for sure.
I mean, you know that, Christian. It's hard to just pick three. But those are three that really influenced me the first 2 years of grieving through this car accident, losing my family. So that's what I got.
Okay.
Christian, what about you, man? What do you got?
All right. So, I mean, quotes are, I don't know, they're thoughts.
They are, huh?
So it's like, I have a handful. One in particular, Plato. So we got Plato.
Yeah.
He's long before Marcus Aurelius.
This is old school stoicism.
Throwing it back. I mean, I didn't know who the hell Plato was.
Yeah. So I'm still not really 100%.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
we obviously don't know who he is. I never met him, but I'm coming out of this gym. I did some training with the Army at University of Pennsylvania, and the gym that we were attached to, because Pennsylvania wouldn't let us work out on the gym, so we had to go to Drexel. And so I go to Drexel. I'm coming out. Just got done running in these 5-finger shoes. And I come out and I see this etched out stone that says, lack of activity destroys the good condition of every human being, while movement and physical, methodical exercise save it and preserve it. And so I thought, and it said Plato. And the first thing I'm like, who the hell is Plato, man? You know what I mean? Like, but I like this quote, man, where this guy is going with this. I like it. Because at the time it meant everything for me of a physical, like being a physical person.
Can you say the quote again?
So lack of activity destroys the good condition of every human being, while movement and methodical physical exercise save it and preserve it. And so it's like, okay, Plato. And then, back then the smartphone, this is like 2010, I want to say, maybe 2009. It wasn't like as advanced as it is. Hey, sure. Google, can you give me Plato, blah, blah, blah. And so I had to go research it or whatever. And I thought, man, that's badass. So I took a picture of it. And that was like the cornerstone to like tap, because that picture I put in this binder and I started doing all this nonprofit stuff. And we're not talking about that, but the quote is what like got me, because at the time it just meant physical, picking things up, getting big. But as times progressed through my life, it's just the methodical nature. So methodical, lack of activity, not just like moving, but like activity in the brain, and so it's deeper. It's deeper than where it's at,
I think, and like back to what I just said, like, dude, I struggled for. I mean, you saw me, like it was not good after the accident, and movement, like moving with this pain. There is something to that for sure, because for so long I just not going anywhere, just sitting there in it, and I think I'm so far the other end of the spectrum now. Like now all I do is move. Like I'm all over the place. Like I can't sit still, but there's something to it, dude. Like get out of bed and just move your ass a little bit today. Yeah. Like it sounds simple, but there is some truth to that. Like, dude, you gotta move. Like do something.
For sure.
You can't just stay stagnant. You gotta keep moving. So I love that. I love Plato too, because this is like, because it was kind of Socrates and then Plato, and they kind of laid the foundation for Marcus and Seneca and those other guys. But that's a hell of a quote right there.
It's
like,
a big one.
Like get out and do. You can fail. Like go fail, but you got to move. You got to do something.
Brain, body, everything, so
that's
a good one for me. The other one I want to say,
and sorry, you were in the military when you read that one, or?
So I was in the Army. I was a sergeant first class at the time, so E7, and I just happened to glance over, I had to walk past that wall like probably 10 times. I never looked at the shit, and it was just that one time of, oh shit, where'd that come from? And I read it and like Plato. Who's a Plato? You know, so,
I like that one.
yeah, it's a good one, and it literally set the pace for me doing the whole tat thing. So,
awesome.
the other quote, I love it's everything you're gonna hear from me is it's about training. So it's like this one is more like when it comes to training, right? You're never gonna rise to the level of your expectation, but you're gonna fall to the level of your training. And that's kind of like it's kind of watered down a little bit, but that's kind of like the gist of like everything we do. The expectation of life is it's like the cloud, it's infinite. Like we're never gonna reach these heights of the Jeff Bezos, and like, once one person does that in a generation, I mean, that's kind of hard to replicate. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, it's like, okay, I'm never gonna rise to the level of expectation that I'm setting for myself, but I'm a damn well like put some training in place to make sure that I go after it. And when I go after it, I'm going after it with a purpose, all intensive. I'm putting everything into it. But, if I fall short, I fall short, But at the same time, it's like, you got to put it out there, You got to train. And when all else fails, fucking train, period. That's just kind of that's why I love that quote, because it's just like train. Well, what is training? Well, it's not just physical. I mean, we can lift weights and we can do all that stuff, but it's like train your brain, train your mind, train your spirit, train your heart. Like it's training. Get out there and go train. So I love that one for that purpose.
Yeah, I feel like
Love that.
Like even if like you have this ideal self, right? Like goals, things you want to achieve. Let's say you become that guy, you just move your expectations up to the next thing. So like
for sure.
Like you're never fully satisfied with it. Like you're always gonna want more and more, which is a good thing. Like I think that's what keeps people hungry and keeps them going. But I love that idea of like you're not going to reach that all the time, but you will fall back on the effort you've been putting into it.
For sure.
And that kind of reminds me of a quote I really love: "Clear eyes, full hearts can't lose" type of thing. Like how you practice, how you train. If you have clear eyes, full hearts, you can't really lose in the end. One more quote for us?
Yeah, let's go. So this one's a big one because, every day I get up and I want to read it in its entirety instead of paraphrasing it. So it's from Marcus Aurelius, the guy that we all love. We don't know him, but we love him.
Yeah, I love that guy.
But it says on those mornings you struggle with getting up, keep this thought in mind. I'm awakening to the work of a human being. Why then am I annoyed that I'm going? Why then am I annoyed that I'm going to do what I am made for, the very things for which I was put into this world? Or was I made for this, to snuggle under the covers and keep warm? It's so pleasurable. Were you then made for pleasure? In short, to be coddled or to, to exert yourself. You know what I mean? So it's basically saying like...
So, sorry, real quick. I've never heard that full quote. I've heard the shorter quote, "Was I made for this, to lay under the covers and be warm and comfortable?"
For sure.
And I love that quote. Like, no, fuck this. Like, I'm not built for this. I don't want to watch Netflix all day in my room all day.
Sure.
Like, no. Like, life's pain. Let's, like, bring it on. Sorry. I've never heard the full quote from Marcus. So that's pretty powerful, though. But break it down for us.
It's a big one because, throughout my career in the military, I mean, it's 20 years of just constant waking up early, constant grinding, constant this assignment, that assignment. And so it's like, there's times, man, where you're just a human being. Let's be quite frank. I mean, you're a human. I mean, humans don't like doing shit. We love getting into homeostasis.
We love being
comfortable, man. Mm-hmm. So it's like, this morning is the prime example. I was wrecked. I got up and it's like, damn, my feet hit the ground. And then the minute they hit the ground, I felt sorry for myself. Like, damn, I'm tired as hell, man. I'm so exhausted right now. I don't want to get in there and open up my gym. I mean, it is what it is. Like, that was my first initial thought. And so we talk about like, fatigue makes cowards of us all. So it's like, nah, man, if I'm hitting the ground, I feel like this and I'm at my level, then my people probably feel a lot worse. And I know they're experiencing the same thing right now. So I got to go. I got to get to them. So it's like, I'm running to them. We can snuggle under the covers. That's our first initial thought. But it's like, I always tell them, when Marcus snuggled under the covers, there was dark walls and it wasn't an AC and there wasn't ventilated systems. You know what I mean? He didn't have Mr. Rogers. I wake up to Mr. Rogers in the morning. It's my alarm clock.
There you go.
And so I or it's Metallica some days. Some days it might be Ozzy screaming. Other days it's Drake or Eminem, whatever the case is. Like, he didn't have that luxury. Right. So I think about how hard it must have really been for his ass to get up as the emperor and say, you know what, I got to get up. I can't snuggle under the covers. But then he second guessed himself. I could probably stay here and snuggle, but
It is nice though.
But damn, or was I made to get my ass out there and exert myself? Yeah. And so I'll take the latter of the two.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like,
and people say a lot of weird things when people die. Like one thing people say to me is, "Oh, like God only gives trials like this to people who are strong enough to do it," which I just hate. Yeah. Like what? And it can't relate to it. But like, okay, let's actually. But the Marcus Aurelius quote you just said isn't too far off from what they're saying. It really, really isn't. If you actually think about it. And so I read that quote and it's like, okay, the car accident happened. Call it fate, call it whatever you want. It happened. This is my life now. So like, I am built for this level of pain because it happened. And life's a weird thing because I hear people say all the time, I had to go through hell, but now I'm grateful for it and it had to happen. And now this is the person I am. And I disagree. I don't think it had to happen. I think it's the same. I think it's like the sports announcers when like Monday rolls around and they get to break down all the mistakes every NFL football coach made the previous day. And they get all the hindsight. They know how it worked out. Like, oh, he shouldn't have gone for it on 4th and 5. Or like, good thing they did the fake punt. Like they see the whole thing. Like, I think that's how life is. Like something bad happened to you. You handled it well. You grew. You became better. And now it makes you think, oh, that had to happen. I'm glad it happened. Actually, no, it didn't have to happen at all. The car accident with my family didn't have to happen at all. I could still be happily married to Court with our kids and 1090 wouldn't. That could definitely be a thing. It could have been a thing, but it's not. That's not how it went down. But just because you handle something well doesn't mean it was meant to happen. And I think that's something that we've gotten really confused about. It's like, no, it happened and you happen to handle it well. Some people don't handle it well and it goes wrong. So what are you saying to those people when tragedy hit them? So that stuff doesn't make sense. But Marcus Aurelius, like that, I love that quote because really I am built for this because I have to be. This is my reality now. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but that's just how I see those things. Like people say that all the time, like it had to happen. I'm like, no, it didn't actually. You didn't have to get divorced. Actually, you could have had like you didn't have to, but it happened. And then the 1090 principle comes in. What are you going to do about it? And I wanted to ask you, because you train all sorts of athletes. Like you've trained athletes that are in the NFL right now. You've trained high school athletes. You train younger kids, right? Like all ages.
Olympic athletes, just yeah.
Like what are you teaching these athletes? Not just physically. Like obviously you're good at that. Like this is how you get quicker. This is how you get stronger.
For sure.
But like what other edge are you? Because a lot of your athletes are extremely successful. Like you do a hell of a job. Thanks. Like what are you telling them? Out off the field, off the court, out of the weight room. How are you instilling these Stoic principles in? Are you just talking about it?
It's when you come into TAT, TAT's got all these symbols, just like religions use symbols to kind of, park that, that receptor in the brain, the subconscious, the psyche, and you get these symbols that kind of like trigger responses. So I have all these symbols and some of the words are hidden. Some of them aren't, they just learn the law of sympatheia, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's hidden. If you go to my gym right now, that's behind a fan, it's by the exit sign, but it's hidden strategically for a reason. So if the kid that wants to find that, they're going to peek around the corner. Oh, coach, what's that word mean? I don't know, man. You got a smartphone, go figure it out. You know what I mean? I'm not going to tell you nothing. Like if you want to know these words, like look them up, ask me about it. And one of the biggest words is memento mori, right? And so kids see that, and it's because it's right there when you walk in. They have their covenants.
Yeah, I have that tatted somewhere. Where is that tatted?
You know what I mean? Like, kid.
It's got to be here somewhere.
He said, I got
oh,
that
it's in my butterfly.
He said, I got that sucker. There it is.
Right
okay, so you know what I mean? Like, when kids see that one really gets to them. Because it's like, they already believe they're invincible. And so that one, they see that, and they're like, oh, shit. And I see the look on their face when they read it, and they go to their phone, and they're like, dang, and then it's just, you get this look of like pain and frustration. And so it's like, and then they start talking about the principle. And so, I have the the tattoo on this sleeve. It's a memento. It's a skull. It's
Yeah,
entangled in the flag.
tell us what that means.
You know, death is inevitable.
You're gonna die.
Yeah, you're gonna die. Man.
That's
It's
basically what it is.
Yeah, so it's like, Marcus says that determine what you think, do, and say, and so it's like it's a big deal. So I don't preach that to them because again, you got to think I'm in a very religious, dense population, and so it's like, and no way do I want to say to any religious member, hey, look, man, follow me. I'm the Messiah. Like no way. Like you believe what you believe in. Your religion and your philosophy are two separate actions, and so we know one stems from the other, but we're not going to go into the details of how, So it's like, I need you to have a governing principle of how you're going to govern your mind as a young person. I'm washed up. I'm a has-been. I tell them that I'm washed up, man. I'm 45 years old. I'm 4.5 decades into this thing, man.
I would do unforgivable things to look like you when I'm 45 years old.
Yes.
Yeah, man. So, but it's like I'm not guaranteed this shit, man. So we talk about philosophy just creeps into like training. So like every day, for example, we come to the gym and this month was the philosophy of the fly. And they're like, why the hell are we going to talk about a fly? So, okay, let's talk about this fly that's landed on every one of us in this last 10 seconds. How resilient is that sucker? How bold is he really to like land on my arm? I go to smack him. He lands on your face. You go to smack him. This dude is putting his life on the line to do whatever he's trying to get out of us. He's trying to get
so
it.
cool, man.
And he's willing to take that chance, man. I said, those are the learning principles that you can learn from, man. Like, look how resilient he is. He knows he's got 14 to 30 days before he's going to die. And so he's putting it all on the line, man. He's taking this swat from this 1,000 times the size of his body hand. It's like, guys, man, think of that for a minute. And then that's when it starts hitting him like, oh shit, man, like that makes sense. And so I'm able to use philosophy to get into their psyche. And then once I get into their psyche, it's just a matter of like rolling the training in from there, because like we talked about physical and methodical exercise, you're not going to train a person until you can penetrate that psyche. And then once it's penetrated and they have that belief in you, then you start putting in all the resources in their brain. And then all of a sudden that carry that we just did for 40 yards with 2 kettlebells becomes something bigger.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they start processing, the negative attention they're getting at school or home or the problems or traumas they're dealing with. Like that's how we get into like really training an athlete. That's kind of like my platform that I use.
I love using the memento mori with them because, and maybe not in such a serious sense of they're going to die one day, but their athletic career will die one day. Like it's going to come to an end. Like you only get so many high school games, dude. So what are you going to do with that time? And that's what Marcus is meaning by memento mori. Like you're going to die. So what type of life are you going to live? And I was talking to my sister-in-law and Keisha, and she's really, had a hard time with the accident, just like the rest of our family. And she was talking about like sometimes she gets in these really deep, dark spaces and isn't sure if she wants to live anymore. And I kind of told her, I'm like, hey, like memento mori, Keisha, like your death is certain. Like 100% sure you're going to die one day. We will. We're going to get our death. It's going to happen. What can we do before then? Like, what are we going to do? Like, I know it sounds like a cool escape and you want to see him again and it can end the pain. Like, I get it, but you're going to die no matter what. Like, it's going to happen one day. So give it a go. Like, give it all you got. And I think that's kind of what Marcus was trying to teach us with that memento mori. I'm a basketball trainer, so I've trained high school players. What are your thoughts on like the transferring of all these high school athletes?
Ooh, that's a
what do
tough
you
one.
think of the college transfer portal?
Dang, he's going deep. Okay. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know. You got to look at it this way, right? When I decided to retire from the military, for me, it was a decision I had to make for not just myself, but my family, right? We got transferred around a lot. And I had got this.
Hold on, real quick.
Yeah,
Don't lose your train of thought because you don't want to talk about the Army thing because it's just but let's just talk about it real quick because you were a badass in the Army. You were.
I'm just a soldier, man.
No, you were. Don't lie to us. You were. What was he, Ryan? He was He was a master sergeant.
Yeah.
Real quick, I know you're like a humble guy. I get it. I've been there before. Can you just talk about how cool you were in the Army real quick, like 2 minutes? Like, you were a badass. Like, don't.
If I have to sum it up, like, I served the people, man. You know, I did an oath of enlistment just like everybody else does that serves. And whatever that got put in front of me, that was the objective for me, you know. And so I did it humbly. I did it with honor. I did it with integrity.
And you're a master sergeant.
I was an EA. I was a master sergeant. I've commanded troops. I've done everything I needed to do. It's just leadership 101, you know. And if you go into any Army unit or organization, that's what you're going to find. You're going to find some of the most highly class, leaders, first class leaders you can find in the world. They don't get enough credit, in my opinion, because, the stresses they deal with, personnel management. I mean, they're responsible for like every ounce of a person. So it's not like an organization like you go to Apple or somewhere like that. And yeah, there's leadership, but at the same time in the Army, there's leadership after the lights go out. Gotcha. And we're responsible for those guys day in and day out. So I mean, I have a lot of respect for service members that currently serve. I see some of them in the community, and I always kind of tip my hat to them. They have no clue I was in. I don't mention it. Yeah, I'll pay for their lunch. I'll do whatever I need to do, and I commend them for their efforts. But for me, it's just like anything else. Like the firefighters and the teachers, and it was a mission. Like you have a mission in life, and it just happened to be the military. You know what I mean?
Well, I just wanted, because you were in there for 20 years.
Yeah.
And you did, like, I just want to thank you for it, and not just blow over it. Like, it was not a big deal. Man. Okay, back to the question. Yeah. All these high school athletes transferring and the transfer portal in college. So
transfer portals are, I think they're good because what it does, I mean, we have a community, obviously, and we want kids to commit. So let's be honest. So it's an organization, Harriman High School, Riverson High School, et cetera. And so you want that kid to commit to your organization, but what are you doing to develop them? And so this is where coaches have to ask themselves, okay, am I developing subordinates on the ground, just like the military? Am I developing linebackers, running backs, et cetera, to where we can create our own internal vacuum that says, come to our program because we're developing kids, versus, we just want the best of the best. Like, you're a genetic freak, come on board. We want this as our starting 11, et cetera. And say, okay, well, what about this kid in the back, man? Just suppose we could have developed him. Just suppose we could have developed this guy. But the problem is they don't have enough time in high school because it's only 4 years, and you take that 4 years, a key group of personnel, you try to push them to the state championship, et cetera. So, I mean, I think if kids can see the light at the end of the tunnel somewhere else and say, you know what, man, I have an opportunity to be who I need to be. I'm going to get playing time here. They're going to develop me. They're going to give me an opportunity. I only got 3. I'm like the fly. I only got 14 to 30 days to live, man. I got to go get mine. Yeah. I think if it's that situation where a kid really sees something in this, high school that they're going to give them a chance to play, I mean, I don't see a problem with that. Or if they're experiencing like toxicity, where they're just not being treated well, or they just don't feel like they fit in. Come on, man. This kid's got 4 years of high school, man. Like, they want to have the best experience they can have. Why not? But, I think if they're jumping the fence just to go be a part of the bandwagon and let's create a super team over here on the East bench. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
It's so different than when I was in high school. And I'm sure it's even way more different than when you were in high school. Like, when I was in high school, like, you didn't even think about that. That wasn't even a thing. And if you dared do it, you're like done. Like,
and didn't you have to like wait? Like, all right, you transfer, you got to wait a year or something.
Yeah. You still got to wait now, but we got address changes.
There's so many.
Okay,
and then you just drop the word like anxiety, and they're like, oh, you can go wherever you want now. Like, oh, like, or depression. Like, you're done. Like, free ticket.
But think about this. Like, think about dating apps. Think about dating. I mean, when you were growing up, I mean, you were subjugated to everything in that community, and now there's this portal.
And I remember when the dating app started, it was like frowned upon, like, oh, you met on a website, and now that's how everyone meets, basically.
You would have never found her clearing Utah County being in the north if you wouldn't get on that. You know what I mean? So, like,
it's true.
Yeah.
I look at it like that. It's just technology where they're just using resources. This is a different generation. This is how they handle things. And I think,
because for me, it's tough because you're right. I think some of these high school athletes are legit. They're freaking legit. And these high school so these high school coaches, like, some of these athletes deserve really good high school program, really good coach, because they're that good and they get to the next level and maybe even beyond that. But those athletes are so rare.
Oh, totally.
And so, like, my concern is, like, and it goes back to the we and me concept. Like, we're really going to blow it all up to try to make everyone happy now and everyone can just go where they want. I don't know if that's a good thing. Like, part of sports, like, I didn't like every coach I had. I didn't love my college basketball coach, but that's part of it. Like, you show up, you deal with it anyway. You don't just jump ship if you're not getting enough minutes or enough shots. You like what? Because eventually, and this is the memento mori thing we were talking about. Eventually, this kid's basketball, football career will come to an end. Eventually, it will. Maybe probably after high school, maybe after college, maybe after professionally. That's really rare. But eventually, it's going to end. What are we going to teach this kid? And then who is a part of our society, right? What are we going to instill in this kid of his whole life? Oh, you don't like your coach? Let's go to this team. Oh, I still don't like it. Let's go to this team. You get to college. You're not happy with your coach. I'm going to enter the portal. Now, let's say you have a job you don't like or your marriage is on the rocks. What are you going to do now? And I feel like our society has gotten like that. We're just so weak now, and we just want immediate answers and immediate satisfaction, and it's just all about us.
Well, I'll give you an example. I mean, I think when I say like a kid should transfer based off of where they're going, you know, the reality is like if it's a legitimate reason and the psychological well-being of that kid is just not being met, not just an excuse. Hey, look, I want to go over here to East High School because this is where all the powerhouses are at. No, it's not. To me, that's not how it should be. Sure. You know, for as an experience for myself, my son, when he's 22 now, he's my youngest boy, and I took him out of a high school far west that way. And it's because he was experiencing a lot of like personality issues. You know, he wasn't developing as a man. He wasn't developing in the area that I thought he needed to be developing in. His choice of friends, I mean, they weren't making the best decisions. He didn't know I knew, but I knew. And it was like I watched him slowly start to decline. And so as a father, it was like, nah, man, we got to put you in an area where this is a good area. It's very privileged, but I need to put you in an area that's a little bit more diverse. And I want you to see social classes for what they are. I need you to grow up, man, because in about a year and a half, you're going to be out in the real world, and I need you to grow the hell up. And so I took him from that high school, and I took him to East High School, okay? And it wasn't about winning, because East High School wasn't any better than the high school I took him out of. It was about developing him. And so the coaches hated it. They blacklisted me. I mean, it was ugly, my business. You know what I mean? Like, I'll put it out there, my business.
No, because I was a high school basketball coach for a little bit. I'm like, yeah, like, you're right. Like, these high school, it's a problem.
It was horrible. You know, they put a bad name on my business, and it's like, I didn't do it for my business. Like, come on, I don't promote my business that way. So it's like, I didn't do this for your school. I didn't do it for my business. I did it to help my son out, and I'm going to develop him. And so it got pretty ugly. I took a job.
Well, that's why I brought it up. It's like it's happening right now. It's like people are on different ends of this. So I wanted to get your thoughts being a trainer.
It's you know, it's justified if it's psychologically damaging for a person, and it's something outside of just sports. You know, if you got to pull a kid out because they're just not adapting in that environment, and there's a better environment where that kid can have a better experience, it's about the kid's experience in the end. You know, if they can get a better education, or the academics are a little bit better here, and they're looking to try to have an angle of academics plus, you know, the sports scholarship, and like, why not? But if they're just jumping ship to create a powerhouse.
What about the college portal thing?
I just had a conversation about this. I got a gymnast in last week. I mean, she's like #1 rated gymnast in the country. She's legit. And so we were talking about the NIL deals, you know, and so she's like, I can make this much money in college, and you know, this person already got a $4 million contract or whatever, and so I thought it was cool, like, wow, that's incredible. But the biggest thing, I don't know what the clauses are. You know, I don't know if there's contingencies in there that say, look, okay, we're going to give you this deal, but you got to finish your 4-year degree. Okay, otherwise you're paying X or Y, Z back. Because then what's the incentive if you're going to let a kid transfer all over the place? Like, okay, isn't college for education? Aren't you supposed to be getting a higher learning degree so you can get out in the market? And if you're getting this deal and all of a sudden you're making 6 figures, and what does that say to the person that put in the work already, and they put in the time and tenure in their career, and now you're making more than them, and now you don't even have to finish your degree, and now we just made this about sports, and
some of these college athletes, like the Alabama quarterback, and It's crazy how much money they make.
Well, and it's crazy. Like, but then you think about him, like, take like the NBA. How many college teams there are in the nation, and what 48 players get drafted in a year?
Yeah,
And we're talking thousands. Like, it takes like such an elite, like the Alabama guy, Bryce Young. Was he Bama? I don't know.
I think he was.
Like, there's only so many Bryce Youngs out there. Like,
Yeah.
but everyone tries to, like, it's such a rare aspect. And then you look at like the pro level. Like, I agree with like what you said. Like, as a father, you took your son out and put him in a better situation, not to go win a championship. Sure. You saw some issues as a father and made the changes. Then you look at someone like James Harden, like on his 5th team, claiming like, oh yeah, I don't trust this organization. Like, all right, are they all that bad, James? Like, at some point you got to buckle down, James.
Well, one thing that I've learned since the accident is every idea comes with a cost. Like, there's an opposite end of the spectrum that you're messing with. Mm-hmm. And this is like the whole, it's because like we just talked about, some college athletes, some young athletes, the transfer portal is great. That's why they started it. Like, okay. But if you take it too far, you're pulling off the other end of the spectrum, which is like loyalty to a team and sticking through hard times. Like, it comes with with everything you do. And I see it in the NFL. Like, we're trying to make the NFL so much more safe and protected, which is great. All for it. But the more you pull the string, like, if you take all pain and injury out of football, it ain't football anymore. That's part of the sport, is toughness and grit and grind. So like, you got to be careful with what you're doing. Like, that's just how I see things now. Mm-hmm. So like, at what point if we tipped it too far the other way and we've lost balance with this thing? It's really confusing. And I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, honestly. And that's what makes it tough.
I think it all depends on intent.
Yeah.
The intent behind it all. Any action in the organization is all about intent. So, I mean, I think if the intent is, okay, this organization is making multi-million dollars a year, and let's go Alabama. Come on. That football team is making multi-million dollar hits.
Yeah.
Man. So it's like, if they can give their players a percentage of that, because they're the ones out there risking themselves alive. I mean, let's be honest, football is a combat sport. You take one hit to the top of the dome, man, and it can potentially paralyze you, kill you. So it's like, they are risking their lives playing that sport. So I think we forgot about that part of it. It's a dangerous sport.
Right, yeah.
So if they're promoting and we're using this kid's brand and their name to make money, then okay, let me get my cut.
Sure.
And so I think that part of it is justified, but I don't know.
I'm with you.
I don't know I don't know what the fine print says about, okay, you take this deal, but hey kid, we need you to still finish your degree. We need you to still maintain an academic percentage of this. And then at the end of the day, man, we need you to graduate, man. Like, there has to be, I don't know if there's an incentive that says you have to graduate. And then when you get out, if you want to keep making millions, by all means. But
I just feel like there's always like a yin and a yang. Like, same thing with all these people, like, let's live longer. Like, let's live. I mean, well, if your whole focus is not dying, you're not really living. Like, you're just trying not to die.
Sure.
Let's talk about.
You're not dying. You just can't think of anything better to do.
Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
Get over here and pick me up.
I love like the intent concept though. And like the idea, like I was given a training at work the other day and I asked the room, I was like, how many of you have ever not liked a teacher like that you've had? And they everyone raised their hand. I was like, all right, so like why? And they're like, you don't have to answer this, but think in your head, like, why didn't you like them? And in my head, I'm thinking like, all right, here's 5 or 6 teachers I didn't like. And I started thinking, why didn't I like them? Oh, it's because their test was hard. It was because they gave homework. It was because
I failed it.
I failed. It's like the teacher wasn't a jerk. The teacher wasn't like deliberately bullying me. Mr. Stevenson did bully me, by the way. West Jordan High, Mr. Stevenson, I hope you're listening. He would make like dwarfism jokes to the whole class in front of me. Anyways. But like, they're not like, they acted like this teacher was like personally again. Like I remember being, it's like, oh, I don't want that class. I heard that teacher's a jerk. It's like, did you really hear that teacher's a jerk, or did you just hear that you might have to read a book?
Yeah, I'm with you.
And so it's like the whole idea, it's like, what's the intent? Why did I not want that teacher? Why do I not want to go to that campus?
Sure.
And I think it matters intent with everything in life.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's talk about failure.
All right.
I think it's, I don't know, one of the best tools, if not the best tool to help motivate and shape and have a person grow. Training young athletes, what do you teach them about failure, how to handle it, type of thing?
It's we have like this. I try to keep it simple. You only have so much time with them. They go to school. Teachers beat their brains up. Like yesterday, we all got in and they were like little zombies. They walked through the door, and it was like I would say something, and it was just like the blank stare. Like, guys, did you hear what I said? And I felt like I was inside of this globe, and I could hear my mouth moving. I could hear my own words, but they were seeing me from a different lens. Like I was in a glass bulb. So even though I was saying something, they couldn't hear me. So it's like, guys,
like, let me.
you know what I mean? Like, did you hear what I just said? So I think failure, like for them, I do teach them failure. We have what's called a grit test. Every week, every month they get this grit test and they never know when it's coming. It just happens to be the classical music. I hit play. And when they hear that violin, they know something's coming.
That's so cool because the anticipation of that is so good for their mental, like their training mentally.
For sure.
Like that just thought like, when is it coming, man? Like, I think that's so good.
Oh yeah. So they hear it coming and it's like, and then we hit it and it's like, look guys, we know the coward. We need to train to get to the coward. If we can train to get to the coward that says, hey, look, just like he said, you look yourself in the mirror, you got to be honest with yourself.
What do you mean train to get to the, like break you down enough to like now you want to quit?
Not necessarily like break you down. I believe in the philosophy of, okay, we break you down and then we build you back up. That's the old school military principle. What I mean by the coward is, in World War II, that was one of the quotes from Eisenhower. And he was like, fatigue makes cowards of us all. Okay. And so it's like, wow. Okay, that's a big quote. It's like, okay, we're all cowards right now. And so if we're cowards right now and we can identify the fact that we're a coward, there's nothing wrong with that. I think society has taught us to be tough, and especially as guys, like we got to be tough, we got to be this, we got to be that. It's like, no, man, I'm a coward right now. Dude, I don't know about you, but my freaking legs are on fire. I don't know about you, but like I want to quit right now. Like this sucks. This sucks miserably. And so if we can put everybody in that same stressful environment and say, you know what, like I'm just a coward right now. And so once you identify that, then you can make a decision and say, you know what, I'm about to shift into sixth gear, man. I'm going right here, right now. And that's what I teach them during those grit tests. You know what, you have to meet the coward, guys. You got to look them in the mirror. And then we talk about like perfection. Okay, what is perfection? Okay, because failure, when you can't admit to being a failure, right, or you can't accept failing, it's because you're trying to be perfect. And it's like, okay, well, they say like perfection is like the enemy of good enough. And so it's like, dude, you're good enough already, man. The fact that you were born says you were good enough. The fact that you're here right now and you walk through the door says you're good enough. Now, at that rate, like if you want to go after perfection and keep mutilating yourself, then that's on you, man. But like, come on, that's the enemy. Now, we're not saying to the parents out there, hey, look, your kids should strive to be perfect. They should strive to meet high marks. They should strive to get a 4.0, get into the best college, have the best job, have the best career. I mean, that's our goal in life. But at the same time, man, if we don't meet that, come on, man. It's like, what did you do with those small steps along the way? Can't you just pat yourself on the back and say, hey, good job, man. You still killed it. You still did all these things, man. So don't discredit the fact that all the little steps you took. But at the same time, like, fuck, failure is part of living, man. Like, you're gonna fail.
Yeah, it's part of it.
It's part of it. Like, be prepared to fail, my man, because it's coming. Now now once we hit the failure and we witness the coward and we look him in the face. All right, man. Look, I'm a coward. I failed. It is what it is.
I really like that idea of just like acknowledging and accepting and maybe communicating that. Yeah, I'm a coward right now. There's so like, okay, all me and Sam did with the 1090, I literally just got a microphone and just said like, I'm completely broken and hurt and confused, like in a roundabout way, but that's basically all I did. But there's something about just being 100% genuine, honest with yourself and with everyone. Like, yeah, like I am a coward right now. I think that's a big, big step in handling failure, handling being a coward is instead of, no, I'm not. Instead of like, yeah, I actually am right now. And then training in that mind space and being familiar with what is it to be a coward and a failure and how do I avoid it? Or they're just communicating that with yourself is big, I think. It's huge because that's literally all we've done is just grabbed a mic and just been open about how hurt we've been. And it's just, there's something to it, man. And I'm not exactly sure what. I feel like Sam and I and Ryan, we're like these mad scientists, like in the chemical lab. Like we're like on the verge of a breakthrough. Like when we get to talking, like it's like we're almost saying something good. Like we're close. Like you can feel it. Like I think we're almost smart. Like we're saying stuff. But I think the baseline of what the 1090 is we're just honest, man. Like this is reality. Yeah. And Sam doesn't like that he has dwarfism. I don't like that I lost my family in a car accident. Doesn't make sense to us. But what are you going to do about it? But I think just communicating that's big with yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it's the words too, you know, like there's that book, The Four Agreements. We talked about books and stuff like that. But the Four Agreements is like, they're simple, you know, and then I talk about those agreements with my kids. You know, it's another breakdown of, okay, look, personal agreements are simple, or 4 agreements are simple. You know, don't take things personal. What's the other one? Be impeccable with your word. You know, don't assume, you know, pass judgment, don't assume. And then, you know, just do your best, you know? So it's like, wow, those are 4 life agreements. Like, yeah, because like being impeccable with your word is simple. Like we can use the word coward right now and say, okay, you're a coward. And then somebody might take that as, well, damn, that's so negative. You just called my kid a coward. No, man, coward's not a bad word. You know, just like ass, you know, get your ass out of here. Hey, bring that ass in here, you know, the donkey. You know what I mean? Like 2 different words but they mean 2 different things. Like, well, no, we're using coward in the right way because your kid can't run forever. Okay. At some point you got to teach them how to face the mirror and say, look, man, like this is how you deal with being a coward. It's okay, man. Like you're fine. The first time I called a kid a coward, man, the look on their face was like, they were devastated. Like, right. Wait a minute, kid. Like I'm a coward too. Oh, you're a coward too, coach? Like, yeah, man. Like when I designed this training program, it was like I looked at myself and I was a coward. So I know exactly what you're experiencing right now, and this is how we're going to get you out of it. So it's like, you know, that when we say coward, I want everyone to understand it's like there's not a bad word, it's a good word, man. It's good to be a coward. Awesome. You know.
Let's talk about your tat. Do you call it tat or what?
It's the idea was for it to eventually just be called tat. It was always called tat. The actual company is The Art of Training. It's TAT. Okay. And then we rebranded to Total Athlete Training, TAT. But we didn't want all the verbiage to the Total Athlete Training, you know. So it was like we need to get to a small circle that says TAT. And so the circle is unity, you know, and then we have the actual logo itself. It represents like a shield, like a Superman, like a comic book character. And so we wanted to just be called TAT. So that way it's synonymous to everything out there, to every athlete. So, and
you train any athlete, any sport, right? It's
any sport,
strength, conditioning, agility, quickness.
Yeah, it's human performance. My background is biomechanics, physiology. So that's my master's. It's
just flipping through your Instagram. You got a lot of cool stuff on there.
Yeah, man, because it's movement. Everyone else wants to have this niche and they want to jump into the training environment. I mean, the Instagram is overly saturated.
It takes what it takes, man. You know what I mean? It's like, not a secret to success. But yeah, it's funny how
you know what I mean. So I work with any athlete, anything that moves, I'm going to work with them. I got a guy right now that's got this nerve condition. He can't feel his limbs and extremities. He walked through the door and, you know, when he told me what he had, it was like, oh shit, man, I need to meet you, man, like tomorrow. And this is a Saturday. Like, you want me to come in on Sunday? Yup, sure do. Be there at 8:30. I want to assess you. I want to see why. I want to see if I can like get a trigger response out of your central nervous system to start moving again. And he's an older guy, probably like pushing 50-ish. And he came in and he's right. He barely could feel himself move. And so now he's moving, he's running, he's sprinting, he's jumping.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so like, that's an athlete, you know, it's like, if you want to wear the logo and live the values of what it stands for, then let's go after it.
What are some of the hard parts about your job?
Everybody's in it. Everybody's an expert. You know, look at
every parent.
Every parent. You know, Jason Clark fit. You know, Emily Smith fit. You know, Jen fit. You know, everyone's got this fit page. You know, they go through high school and they got this beautiful built body because they're young, and all of a sudden they get on social media and they're flexing. You know, and it's like, you know, I saw a kid on social media and it was like, you know, it'd be a shame to go through life and not put this young body to test. And that's the one, I think it's like Socrates said that quote or something. Seneca or Socrates said that. And it's like, nah, that's not what he meant, man.
Yeah, those guys were going to war. Like,
Yeah, it's not what he meant. You're flexing because you're 21 and you got a six pack because you're 21. And dude, trust me, I don't take anything from those guys. I can pull.
no, I'm with you.
You know what I mean? I can pull my 20-year-old photo when I first joined the military, and it's like, dude, that's not what it's about. But the reality is, like, the hardest part is everyone's an expert, right? And they don't want to believe in the sciences behind movement. And so because it's involving weights and because it's involving fitness, well, I'm an expert. I work out too, and I can work out with my kid, but you know what? I don't have the time, so I'm gonna let you babysit them. It's like, okay, well, I'm glad you can do my job. You know, I'm glad you. And so even though, you know, parents will come in, hey, do you do speed and agility? And it's like, yeah, we do, man. Well, what do you do for speed and agility? Well, it's an algorithm, or it's a
just tell them to look at you, just like look at me.
Like, but that's the thing. When I look at myself in the mirror, I see the same skinny dude that grew up.
That's so bizarre.
And so I'm very humble to that effect. So I don't really, but when I explain the sciences, no one wants to hear the full story of how to get there. They just want the answer. And so yeah, I teach speed and agility, but it's not, your kid isn't going to run around and do drills all day, especially if they have a strength deficit. You know, if they have a strength deficit and all of a sudden their elastic energy in the fascia isn't firing off, well, you know what it takes to build that? It's like 8 weeks. And then if they have a dysfunction in strength, speed, or speed, strength, then we have to develop that. And then we're talking elastic energy of speed, flexibility. So there's all these variables that factor in speed.
Like an average typical athlete that trains with you, how many days a week do you see them?
Dude, you know what? That's the other part. The average is about 2 times a week.
See, that's the other thing because like, dude, if you really want results, this is an everyday thing. If you're just training this is the same thing with basketball. Like, listen, I train your kid once a week. So don't get mad at me. Like, he needs to get his ass in the gym.
For sure.
You actually don't need me at all. Just grab a ball and go shoot.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So that would be the hardest part, is everyone's an expert. And then, of course, like, my background is a little bit deeper than just military. I got all kinds of other stuff. And like, I don't bring that to the table. Like, that's in my back pocket. Sure. My military training's in my back pocket. Like, you're being presented with Christian, you know, owner, total athlete training. This is what I do. Here's my background. And every now and then I have to flex, but I don't want to get in the headspace where I'm flexing and having to prove what I do. It's like I had a professional.
Sometimes
guy.
you do it because you need credibility. You know, you just do.
You do, and it's like I had a guy come in. He's a professional, and I won't say his name, but he came in a couple days ago, and he went to another guy, and he was paying this guy like $6,000 for 8 months, right? So it's like, damn, $666 a month. Okay, well, I know I'm totally worth that. Like, if I were in California, I'd be making quadruple the amount of money. So it's like, I know what I'm worth, but I also know what people are willing to pay me in Utah. So it's like, okay, so you were paying them that much, but yet you're questioning me on paying $180 a month for unlimited training with me, but you were just paying this guy $666. My background is like impeccable. I know what I can do, man. Like, so why are you questioning me on what you're going to pay me? It's like, you're paying him this, but now you're trying to lowball me. Like, come on, man. Like, let's not get it twisted. If you want to go somewhere else, feel free, but don't question the value of what I'm providing. You're already getting an incredible discount, but more importantly, don't diminish the value of what you're willing to invest in yourself. Because if you're willing to really invest in yourself, then you wouldn't be asking me those questions. Like, this is the cost, is what you'll pay. You're paying it with this guy, but like, come on, man. If that's what your thoughts are, you should probably get out of here right now, man. Yeah. You know, so
can you can you tell us maybe like some of the best athletes you've trained? Is that
for sure? Yeah.
Maybe give us like a top 3 or 4.
Yeah, let's go top 3. So I mean, I've got my daughter, of course. She's 9.
She's just a beast.
She's a beast, man.
What sport is she gonna play?
She's playing flag football right now.
I just signed Blue up for flag football.
Yep.
He's 6. It's the cutest little thing. Oh man,
that's awesome.
Yeah. It's cool. She runs around, chases the boys. They chase her. So it's just like life, you know. And so, you know what I mean? But they can't catch her yet. So we got to train you to be fast, because these boys are not going to catch you.
That's awesome.
You know. So and they see her and they know her as a little fast girl, and she doesn't get special privileges because she works with me. But so she's easily. I've got Jalen Warren. Jalen Warren plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We talked about him.
That's crazy.
That's
incredible athlete. Keisha Love. She's an Olympic bobsledder. I work with her.
You work with bobsledders?
Yeah, man. I've got 2 of them.
That's cool.
Is there any unique training you do for or is it just normal?
For sure. So like there's a law of specificity.
Wait, hold on. Bobsledding is the. I just want to make sure I have the sport right. That's the one like you're pushing it and then you jump in
That's
it.
for sure. Yeah, it's crazy.
What's that movie?
Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings.
Yeah.
Courtney, my wife, loved that movie.
Yeah, Cool Runnings.
So yeah, this is interesting.
It's
what
cool
workouts are you doing with bobsled?
Because this is where science kicks in. So like, okay, we got one girl, Jess. You see these two girls that coach, and they are just built. Like you think I walk into the door and you're like, oh my goodness, these two walk into the door, you're just like, get out of here. What Jupiter planet did you come off of? You know? But yeah, they come in and so like when you talk about athletes of that caliber, it's the small things. And one of them, like she has problems with her hips. And so when we break down her biomechanics, you can see, yeah, she's tilted. You know, she has what we call posterior or anterior tilt, and it's just the shape of her hips. And so like when she comes out of the block, you know, that 15 to 20 degrees over distance, man, that definitely impedes speed. And so now we're working on things that focus on driving that front hip. So I'll design something on the spot. I've got pneumatic force, I've got kettlebells, I've got flywheels, I've got all kinds of cool stuff. But it's not the stuff that makes a difference. It's like the designing the movement to where it's like sport specific, so we can get a high speed action that's sport. So if the movement doesn't move at the speed of sport, it doesn't translate. Does that make sense? So you can overload the hell out of a person with 400 pounds, but if they can't travel at the speed of sport with that force, it doesn't mean anything. So it's like those are the things that we focus and work on.
Yeah, I was like, cool. Man, I think when I played college basketball, I graduated 2016, and it was just like I think I just missed. Like the training now for college athletes, I think is way better. Oh, but like when we were doing like the 3-mile run, and I'm like, listen, we play basketball. There's media timeouts every 4 minutes. There's this isn't the type of training we should be doing. Why are we running a mile right now? We don't run a mile ever. It's like but that's all they knew. Like, you run the stadium stairs. It's like what? Actually, think about what we're doing. Why are we running stadium stairs right now? It was so frustrating me. Like I didn't get it, but I think all that stuff you just said is so cool to me. Like, man, I wish we had a guy like that when I was playing ball at Dixie State. Like, that would have been so beneficial. I think
you said stadium stairs. I'm laughing because my bobsledder, she was like, "Hey, coach, I'm gonna go do some stadium stairs." And I'm like, "Hold on, wait a minute. Well, you're gonna do what?" No, you're not. Like, stop what you're doing. Go get your.
You're a bobsledder. Why are you doing?
Yeah, you know, it's like put your shit down. I want you to go upstairs. Go grab 2 kettlebells. You're gonna hit the skier. You're gonna hit the kettlebell. Here's your sequence. Here's your timing. Here's what the intent is. Going back to intent. Mm-hmm. You know, I want to get as much output out of you with about 26 seconds. You know, you're running down the runway with that sled, and it's taking you about 26 to 30 seconds before you fully mount into the sled. We need to train along those same conditions. So we call it short to intermediate system training, right? And so you're going to do this. You're going to hit 10 sets. Your target is 26 seconds. Go. And she's like scrambling. She runs upstairs. She comes back after 10, and she's like, oh, my gosh. Like, I didn't think that was going to be that rough, but that was rough. And it's like, yeah, man, it just makes sense. It's something that you can identify. You have full control over it, so you can give me maximal effort into it. When you have to run up and down stadium stairs, let's be honest, man, we're exerting energy to go nowhere.
Unless you're training for a stadium stair race.
There we go, man.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, man. Like, let's hit the PR for stadium stairs.
It's honestly like, oh, you want to work at basketball? Like, let's go to the soccer field and kick some goals. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's pretty common.
We're working on hand-eye coordination. Well, like, yeah, but. Yeah.
And what's shitty about it is like the research has been out there since the 1940s and 50s.
I know. I think it's just
Yeah. So anyway,
thanks for coming on. Can you end?
Awesome.
Let's talk about top 3. You're not a huge movie guy, which is fine. Won't hold it against you. Do you want to do books? Your 3
let's go.
Or we're going to do musicians. What do you want to do?
I think books are good.
Let's do books.
Yeah, books are good. Musicians are cool too. But yeah, books. I would have to say. Top 3, let's go The Law of Human Nature.
Never read it.
Robert Greene. It's a good one.
Ryan's nodding his head. Have you read that one, Ryan?
Yeah, Robert Greene. He's kind of he's my mentor.
Is he the one who wrote 48 Laws of Power?
That's him.
That's him. You're a big fan of that one.
That's him. He's kind of an alien, man. I'm kind of an alien too. So it's like, dude, I don't know where this dude comes from or how he gets this knowledge, but damn, he's knowledgeable. And so that's a big book because what the law of human nature taught me as a person is that I'm nothing special, you know. And it's just like we look at Marcus Aurelius and all these people that throughout humanity, you know, every century we got a new group of people coming on board. And so that book is like a chronological, historical database of everything that's happened, you know, throughout his research. So you look at like Coco Chanel, you look at like, you know, General Patton, all these people have our same traits. And so we're just a replica of those people. And so it's like, damn, this shit's cool. I'm nothing special. They were doing this 100 years ago, you know? So I love that book for that reason. It kind of puts things to light. The other one, like he just said it, the 48 Laws of Power.
That book's wild. I love that one.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so 48 Laws of Power, big one. For me, it's like create a cult-like following. That's one of the, you know, fundamental laws of power. And so that's what that is. You want to create a cult-like following. And cults aren't bad. People want to make, again, it's another one of those words.
Sure.
Cult, coward. I mean, come on. The cult is not a bad word.
We're all part of some cult.
Yeah, you know, cults are good if they're a good cult. Cults are bad if they're a bad cult. And then the last book I'd have to go with, I'm gonna say like Christine. Stephen King, you know, let's get rid of reality.
I like it. Great. I did not expect this.
Yeah,
dude.
let's get out of reality. Let's get into like some science
Stephen
fiction.
King, man.
I love freaking cars, man, and that book, man, is kind of scary. Man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know what I mean?
You're a Stephen King fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I love horror films, horror books. I love it.
Yeah,
What's your
man.
favorite horror movie, Dave?
Mine, story-wise, scared and everything, I'd probably say my favorite horror movie is The Conjuring 1.
Oh,
You ever seen The Conjuring?
I have, yeah.
I love The Conjuring 1. Number 3 was no good. Number 2 was pretty good, but number 1's wild. fan.
The scariest movie I saw, and this isn't going to make any sense, but I think what makes a movie scary sometimes is who you're watching it with.
Yeah.
And so I watched this movie when I was a little kid with, I think, my older sister Carly. And anyway, the Mel Gibson movie Signs, not even a horror movie, but I was a little kid and I watched that, but I was terrified. Christian, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you want to get some training, you have a kid, young athlete that needs some training, and you live you're based out of Riverton, Utah?
Yeah, based out of Riverton, right there by the big hospital across the street.
So I would hit Christian up. He's got a great Instagram. He's trained some really good athletes. Thanks again, man. I love this. I love stoicism, and thanks for the Army and everything you do for our community. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Anytime. And hopefully, like, the insight I provide, I know it was a short story, but, I mean, how you got me in here was, I mean, I can tell that story off the line or on the line, whatever you prefer.
Yeah,
but
man.
it was definitely something bigger that brought me in here. So, you know, I do a lot of meditation. A lot of people don't understand the whole meditative process, but for me, it's just simple. And I was really stubborn. I was a coward that night. I had to go to sleep, but I was being lazy, like always, because if we're lazy, we're human beings. Something told me, hey, man, you got to meditate. You're about to receive a message, man. And it's like,
No
okay.
way.
That's serious. I'm not weird. I don't get into all this higher
And then I
power
messaged
stuff.
you?
Yeah, so like,
That's
and so I
wild.
wasn't gonna go to sleep. I was just gonna go to sleep and not do it. And so I sat up. I did my 20-minute meditation, and I just went to sleep. And then I woke up the next morning, and then I saw your message.
That's wild.
And so it was weird, man. Like I saw it, and it was like I read that shit like probably 10 times, man.
That is so cool.
I'm not bullshitting. I read it 10 times. Like I gotta meet this guy. So I mean, I don't know. I probably had a lot of emotions like all over the place after reading your story, man. It's just really. I mean, my life probably changed after reading those words.
Well, thanks, man.
I put myself into being a better dude. Like when I read your words, man, and that message, like I literally went from being Christian to like super Christian.
Well,
And I've been training harder ever since. I've been trying to push myself out harder ever since. Because that's what life's about, man. You see someone else's struggle and you see what they're dealing with, and you pity yourself, and you're like, no, man, this dude has got a different card dealt to him, and so it's like I need to live my ass off a little bit harder, and I need to be around this dude.
memento mori.
For sure, man. So
man.
yeah, you even though you didn't know you pushed me after that day. Like,
I had no idea. That's cool.
You're pushing my ass to different limits, man. Just
Well,
because
thanks,
of
man.
who you are. So
I'm glad we're
appreciate
friends.
it. Yeah.
Because I don't want to be your enemy.
There you go. No, you're good, man.
Life's 10% what happens to you and 90% what you're going to do about it.